Good evening, dear viewers, and welcome to our English edition. The first train passengers arrived last night for the top stories in Negad from Addis Ababa. North Korea restores the red phone with the South. The first commercial and passenger train of the new railway, which connects Djibouti and Ethiopia, arrived the evening of Wednesday at Negar station from Addis Ababa. More details in the studio.
The first commercial and passenger train of the new railway, which connects Djibouti to Ethiopia, arrived last night at the Negar Central Station from Addis Ababa, the Ethiopian capital. At the Negar station, the arrival of the first train was welcomed by the director of the railway company, Mr. Mahmoud Roble Dabbar, and the members of the Chinese construction company called CCECC. Thereby, the first travelers from Djibouti to Dire Dawa are expected in the morning of Friday.
Minister of Transport Mohammed Abdul Qadir visited this morning the Negar station. More with Mandaq Mahmoud.
The Minister of Equipment and Transport, Mr. Mohammed Abdul Qadir Musa, visited the Negar Central Station this morning, where last night the first passengers and commercial train arrived from Addis Ababa. The minister took advantage of his visit to be the first VIP to buy a ticket for the departure of the first passenger train that will take place to Dire Dawa.
He was accompanied by several officials from the country, including those responsible for the Djibouti Railway and those in charge of Chinese society. The minister, in his intervention, took advantage of his visit to the first VIP, and in a brief interview after his visit, the transport minister said that once the train is operational, it will strengthen relations between Djibouti and Ethiopia. The trip will be in the best conditions for passengers who can travel in a pleasant setting. The rate of movement of goods between the two countries will be faster. As well in the national news, under the chairmanship of the Honorable Sharmaki Musa Array, the Committee on Finance and the General Economy, the plan met this Thursday in the committee room to consider the bill number 215 approving the financial accounts of the National Office for Water and Sanitation of Djibouti for the financial year 2015. The government was represented by the Minister of Agriculture, Mohammed Ahmed Awade, along with senior officials of the various departments of the ministry, between the Director General of the National Office of the Water and Sanitation of Djibouti, Mohammed Fuad Abdo. In addition to the commissioners, many non-members of the commission also took part in this meeting. By taking the floor, the representative of the executive made the financial statements of the project, including the balance sheet, the profit and the loss account, the balance sheet, as well as the appendix gathering the patrimonial situation, the statement of receivable and the cash position at the closing of the accounts. In addition, the minister indicated that the tax detail is accompanied by the management report and the physical activity report prepared by the Executive Board of ONEAD, as well as the report of the auditor from the independent auditor KBMG. Continuing with the national news, the Dam of Friendship will soon be operational. The problems of flooding caused by the Wadi of Umbudi were over, and the construction work on the Friendship Dam is on the right track, said the Director of the Department of Major Works of the Ministry of Agriculture, Aulet Jama Ahmed, this morning. During a visit by a team of journalists to Lan Gobale, where the engineers Turkish company led for 6 months the construction work of this dam in the framework of the program of fight against thirst by the President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, and led by the Ministry of Agriculture. The engineers of the society of the company Turkish, who have won the international tender for the construction of this hydraulic structure, have been carrying out since 4 months the construction of the Dam of Friendship located downstream of the village Wa'a in Arta, and more particularly to the place called Lan Gobale, located about 7 kilometers south of the capital. The dam is designed to protect the capital from the frequent floods of the Wadi, and will also be used to recover upstream the maximum of the waters that flow into the sea. The cost of this work, which amounts to 11 million euros, equivalent to 2 billion francs, will be completed in December 2018. One day after their swearing in, the Constitutional Council, the members of the Independent National Electoral Commission elected on Thursday the President of the Commission, who will oversee the next legislative elections scheduled for the next February. The election ceremony was held at the People's Palace in the presence of the authorities of the Interior Ministry, represented by Mr. Wahib Omar Elmi, and other representatives of the Ministry of the Interior and the Decentralization. During this event, the members of the committee unanimously voted the only candidate for the position of President of the present case, Dini Mohammed Burhan, the Vice Presidents of the Independent National Electoral Commissions. In the 5 interior regions were elected as follows: the region of Tujara, Mr. Aramis Kamsak; Obok region, Hamad Said; in the region of Dakhil, Hamadou Ali Muhammad; as for the region of Al Sabih, Muhammad Abdullah Farah; and finally, region of Arta, Muhammad Miguel Burhan. In a brief speech, the elected president expressed his thanks and gratitude to the members of the committee for giving the confidence to lead the commission to organize the next legislative elections. The Secretary of State for Youth and Sports received this morning in his office the Cuban ambassador to Djibouti, Mr. Lazaro Poleto Mesa, carrying a message from the Cuban Minister of Sports. In this message, the Minister of Sports of Cuba requests a trip report to his counterpart of Djibouti, the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, for the participation of a big event, Coupe del Porte, which will take place at the end of February in early March 2018. The two men reviewed the cooperation relationship in the field of sports that are currently materializing with the presence of Cuban coaches in athletics, handball, basketball, and volleyball, and of course the new and young Cuban expert sports fitness coach, a purely feminine sport. The Cuban ambassador thanked the government and the people of Djibouti for their warm welcome, the perfect climate, and the particular interest shown in the efforts of Cuban co-workers living in Djibouti as part of their mission. Under the auspices as well of the State Secretary of Youth and Sports, took place yesterday in the afternoon at Ambuli Primary School 1, the preparation of the National Dialogue with the National Youth. A mission of organizing committee of the National Youth Conference, as usual, discussed yesterday in the afternoon with the youth and its representative at the Ambuli Primary School. The aim of this meeting is, among other things, to prepare young people for the spirit of dialogue between the President of the Republic and young representatives of their peers from all neighborhoods and communes. And now moving on to the regional news. The head of the state of Somaliland, Mr. Musa Bihi Abdi, has received yesterday the Consul of Djibouti in Somaliland, Mr. Hussein Kaudiye. The discussions focused on promoting and strengthening bilateral cooperation between Somaliland and the Republic of Djibouti, among other things. The security situation in the Horn of Africa region in general was also mentioned during this meeting, which took place at the Presidential Palace of Somaliland. This meeting comes after inauguration of the new President of Somaliland. And on the international news, a 21-year-old skier was killed and 20 people were injured as the winter storm Eleanor swept across Europe. The skier died after being hit by a tree during the storm at Moreland in the French Alps. The storm on Wednesday caused widespread damage and disruptions in Europe. France's national electricity providers said around 225,000 households were without electricity across France. The storm is now heading for the French Mediterranean island of Corsica. Airports in Strasbourg and Basel-Mulhouse on France's border with Germany and Switzerland were also closed due to the heavy winds yesterday. However, they were reopened in the evening. South Korea Tuesday proposed high-level talks with Pyongyang on January 9 after the North leader Kim Jong-un called for better relations and said this country might attend the Winter Olympics in the South. Kim used his annual New Year address to warn he has a nuclear weapon on his table, but sweetened his remarks by expressing an interest in dialogue and taking part in the Pyeongchang Games next month. South Korea's Unification Minister Cho Myong-kyung told the press conference that Seoul was reiterating our willingness to hold talks with the North at any time and place in any form. The news comes after North Korea has rattled the international community in recent months will multiply missile launches in its sixth and most powerful nuclear test, particularly in hydrogen bomb. We're here, we close this edition. Thank you for joining us on RTD and have a good night.